Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another new Tyranid video. Like I said in last Saturday's video where I painted up the Death Leaper, Games Workshop very kindly sent me one of all of the new beautiful kits to test out and make videos for you guys. I decided to start with Death Leaper as that is my favorite Tyranid model of all time now. I think it's an unbelievable sculpt and I was very excited to bring it to the tabletop and show you guys how to paint it. I promised you then that the next Saturday I would be doing the Norn Emissary. And I lied to you just a little bit because unfortunately it's not coming out on the Saturday because I have my 12-hour stream then. So I'm going to be releasing it today, which is Friday, a day early for you guys. So I have a little bit less work for myself on the actual Saturday itself. If you are curious about that, I am doing a 12-hour stream on the 9th of September, which is tomorrow when, as of the release of this video, at 2 p.m. Irish time to 2 a.m. Irish time. And I will be painting up an entire combat patrol of Astra Militarum in a single sitting. We're going to have like lots of fun games, a ton of giveaways, over €400 worth of giveaways was donated to us by Underworld Gaming to give out to you guys on the stream, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah, I just think it's going to be an epic day. A lot of people are joining along, spending the 12 hours getting some painting done. Some people are dropping in and out as the day goes on. You're all more than welcome to come along and take part, maybe win yourself some cool prizes. Without further ado, it's time for me to get stuck in and get painting this Norn Emissary, the biggest plastic Tyranid monster I believe now. I'm not sure the Moloch might still be bigger, but not by much. It's an absolutely epic piece. I'm so happy to have it painted and ready for the tabletop. So yeah, let me show you how I did it. So as many of you guys know, I'm not usually one for sub-assembly, and that's kind of the case with this guy. I have assembled him 99% of the way. I have just left its head off. Just making it a little bit easier to get in at that kind of neck area, and then the brains underneath the big carapaced head. I wanted to be able to get at those a little bit easier as well, so I decided to just glue the head straight to a painting handle and then paint it up separate and just glue it on at the end. The model was sprayed Chaos Black and then given a healthy dusting of Grey Seer, which is my personal favorite way to begin a painting project, which is going to involve a lot of contrast. I feel this gives a lot of depth. It makes it really easy and clear to know where to put the contrast paints. So I have done this technique a couple times in a couple different videos, exactly the same steps, exactly the same paints. You guys seem to enjoy getting kind of repeat videos, if you know what I mean. I did ask previously in my Leagues of Votann series, okay, do you guys need me to do a video on this? Because it's these exact paints again, just being used in slightly different shaped model. And they were like, yep, please, another video. So this is what I'm doing here. So Guilliman Flesh was the first thing we did on all of the soft parts of the miniature, leaving all the carapace that same Grey Seer. After that, we covered all of these parts again, this time in Carroburg Crimson. This shifts it from this kind of weird natural skin tone, which obviously doesn't suit this model awfully well, to this much more kind of alien-esque tone, this mottled skin. It's pretty cool. I really do like the effect that I did get with my kind of softer part of the Tyranid scheme, and I think a lot of people could steal even just this part and then do the carapace in a totally different color and a whole host of different colors, and I think it would look awesome. So like I said, the Carroburg Crimson was then painted over all of the soft parts, making sure to of course get the head as well. Sometimes I may skip jumping to the head when I'm doing certain stages, but just know that I'm doing the same stages on the rest of the body as I am on the head. Also making sure that I paint up all of the bases, Tyranid organism bits at the same time as well, so I'm to go back at the end and repaint them all. From here, it's time to move on to the first of a two-stage dry brush. First color is going to be Screaming Skull, and we're going to be dry brushing this all across, once again, those softer areas with a very soft dry brush. This is a large flat dry brush from Games Workshop. The Artist Opus brushes will work a treat here as well. You want it to be quite soft so that you can dry brush those kind of organic areas, and as you can see, even like here, as I go across to the next area, it's more of a dusting than a solid coat. You don't want to try and get like streaks or anything like that. You're still trying to create that like naturalness to it, which I know is a weird thing to say in a Tyranid model, but you definitely want the like levels of color showing through with his skin. After that, we're going to jump up to a Wraithbone base, and yeah, this is just literally a very light dry brush to finish it off, catching all those sharp edges. I'm very lightly going over some of the more curved edges with it, and that's it. As you can see, it's extremely light. There's not a lot of paint transfer. It's just a kind of weird last highlight to the skin. before we then go back in and try and make it look once again more alien-esque. Right now it's a really uncomfortable color. I think it really does suit, and I think it does look really well for a Tyranid scheme. From here we're going to move over to the Volupus Pink color, and we're going to paint this in between all of the joints and all those little splits in the skin. So anywhere that you can see even softer than the softer parts, if that makes sense. Because even the like shins and thighs of the Tyranids are actually armored. It's just they're not as hard as the chitin. But there are definitely soft, squishy bits between all the joints. Everywhere that's supposed to bend on a Tyranid, you can see definitely a different texture and different type of material. So for this to accentuate that, to play into that a little bit more, I go for Volupus Pink and I paint it into all those recesses. You can see him going in at the knee here. Obviously he's got two knees, kind of, and I'm making sure to go in with those joints in the arms, and obviously I painted the Volupus Pink color on all of the brains as well. This is a really nice color. I didn't want to go for something crazy and glowing and standing out. I wanted it to match in with the rest of this model. I don't want to steal attention away from other parts of the Norn Emissary, but it's also going to suit really well. The bigger brains on the head part, and making sure I get a nice solid coat on them. And this is pretty much where I leave the skin at. That's the skin part of this model pretty much finished and ready to rock and roll. And the model looks kind of sloppy, kind of messy. You're not really sure where it's going to go. And this is my favorite step on painting my Tyranids, is where I go in with, actually, sorry, I missed a step. I've got to do Rattling Grime first, silly me. Which I do on all of the claws, the hooves, the teeth, any of those kind of sharper edges where I didn't want to give it a solid black and I didn't want to go, you know, a bladed color, if you will. I wanted it to look like a gnarly old nail color. So the Rattling Grime, I think, works an absolute treat for that. Sometimes I forget this stage, I'm painting them and I have to go back. It's kind of a nightmare. Okay, with all of those steps done, we finally get to go on to my favorite step, which is where I get to grab my Stegadon Scale Green and base coat in all of the carapace on this entire beastie. And once you start painting the carapace, the model really comes to life. And this is the stage where I was talking about, if you're not really into blues or the kind of colors that I'm going for, you could swap this part out for a different scheme, a different color, reds or yellows or oranges, and leave the skin as it is, and it's going to look absolutely fantastic. But I love my kind of wintry style Tyranids, and that's why I jump in with some kind of darker blues to start with. So Stegadon Scale Green works a treat for that. I know it says green, but it's actually a blue, kind of. And yeah, this is a really nice stage. And as you can see, as soon as I start applying it neatly, making sure not to hit any of the skin, I've added a touch of water to it so it flows really easily into all of the creases, because obviously the carapace is very well sculpted and well detailed, so there's lots of lines in it. Here's just the bottom half of the model base colored in with the blue, and as you can see, it changes the tone of the model immensely. The skin looks better because it looks neat and tidy, and the carapace is starting to move into a much cooler place. Here it is after the torso, the top half is done. And this model is starting to move towards the finished painted model category, and I'm really happy about that. Okay, from here it's time to work on the blue a little bit more, and this is where we jump up to Altaitoc Blue, which is a brighter and more vibrant blue to add a little bit more color into the scheme. We're going to be using a heavy feathering technique for this. We're not trying to give you in total coverage like we did with the previous color, the Stegadon Scale. As you can see, I'm just going down. I'm following the direction, the natural direction of the carapace. I've got a fine pointed brush and I'm just pulling it towards me, giving it that kind of lined, speckled look across the armor. We're not going all the way up to the top. I want that shadow in between the plates. And all I'm going to do is follow this process around. This is probably the slowest stage on painting this guy. So you do want to take your time and make sure you don't kind of go overboard with this blue. And once again, a stage where you're being a little bit more neat and tidy will definitely help the finished aesthetic of the model. And of course the head as well, following the big armored plates, sweeping backwards, which means I'm holding the model face up and I'm pulling the brush down towards me to follow those natural lines once again, giving me a really nice result. Now once again, a solid block of blue on the armor is really nice, but it still looks a little bit kind of not organic. It does look a little bit organic, but adding this Doombull Brown stage, which is heavily watered down, into all of the recesses in the armor carapace, including all of the like little slits and cracks that are in the armor. I like to feel a little bit in there. And then those like split vents that we did, the Volupus Pink in the arm, they run up the vents on the back of this guy as well. So we're also going to fill those in with Doombull Brown, once again, just to kind of accentuate them, make them look awesome. And once I add this kind of watered down brown between all the armored panels, the model just really comes to life. It definitely feels like this weird alien beastie that, you know, cracked itself out of an egg that landed on the planet and is coming stomping across the battlefield towards you. There is nothing natural about this. It's all uncomfortable and horrible, and you just don't want this thing anywhere near you. Here's once again an idea of the bottom half of the miniature done with that brown, making sure once again to do all those bits on the base as well, as these are the same bionic or material, constructing them as the Tyranid itself. Being careful to do it with the head as well, and all those little bumps and extra little bits on the model. Anything you want to over accentuate on the carapace, just line highlighted or watered down brown into the recesses of it, a mouthful, to make it look a little bit more unnatural. Celestra Grey was just a nice bright grey eye close to hand, which I used to highlight the teeth that got Rattling Grimed. Very quick and easy step. If you're wondering what I did for the inside of the mouth, just used Volupus Pink again and filled in the inside of the mouth, tongue, top of the mouth, roof of the mouth done. I also used the Celestra Grey for the eyes really quick, so that I could then just grab my contrast Imperial Fist Yellow and paint them in over the top to give me a really nice and simple yellow glow eye effect. I glued the head back onto my Norn Emissary and the model is almost complete. All the painting is pretty much there. Really happy with the final result. All I have to do now to make sure it blends in with the rest of my miniatures in my army is to add all of the snow texture to the base like this. And then we have my finished Norn Emissary ready to be fielded, fully painted. I think it looks awesome. There's nothing I would change about it. Obviously, I didn't do a lot of extra work with the brains. It's literally just a coat of Volupus Pink. So that's the only thing. Maybe I would go back in and do a little bit more work on the brains, but I kind of like how they look. I like how they don't pull the attention too much away, but you can definitely see that there's something about it. And yeah, some creepy close-up pictures of what it looks like, plus some final high-resolution images so you can see what it turned out like. I hope you guys are happy with the final result, and you can also get your Norn Emissaries painted very soon. Okay guys, as you can see, I have painted up my Norn Emissary in my home color scheme. I really like how it turned out. A big fan of this. Is obviously going to be the main driving factor and the main driving force for my new Tyranid army. It's obviously going to be the boss. So I'm glad to have it painted and on my shelf. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you do enjoy my content and you want to get even more of it, there are links to my Patreon below. If you check that out, you get 2 big benefits. 1, access to a private Discord server, and 2, you actually get an extra video every single week from me, which I think is a pretty cool reward. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below, whether it be about my Patreon, about painting this, about the stream, any hobby questions that you want. I will get back to each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Hopefully I'll see a bunch of you tomorrow. I'll see you next time.